About the news this morning, there's an ongoing effort in one eastern Kentucky city for more businesses to become sensory and autism friendly. We're going to talk with a Perry County native about his time helping out in Selma, Alabama after a tornado swept through the city.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning to you. I'm Dakota Makris, and thankfully it's Friday and it's almost 5:38. You're like, yeah, shouldn't you been on 8 minutes ago for the 5:30? Yeah, should have, but you know, hey, let's head over to Brandon for a look at our forecast. And Brandon, you're a trooper this morning. Goodness gracious.
He produced, I'm trying to
Yeah, I produced the newscast and he's having it, and he's just like, Dakota, Daddy.
Anywho,
I tried.
Let's talk about this forecast real quick, real quick. Let's go to Lake Cumberland and show you that camera down that way this morning. Some overcast skies, but otherwise no major issues. Temperatures in the 30s and 40s as you head out the door this morning. I think they'll drop a little bit more before we get to the bus stop, but again, it's going to be one of those days where it's going to be a fairly mild day overall. Not mild, fairly cool day overall, not as mild as it has been. 40 our daytime high, I guess you would call it, but not a whole lot of movement today. I think we're pretty much where we're going to be all day, but I think we do see some sunshine later this afternoon going into the evening hours. Dakota?
Well, Governor Andy Beshear said the state is beginning to see, quote, some real stability in the Commonwealth Sheltering Program. The program was created to provide temporary shelters to disaster survivors who are unable to find rental homes or apartments. Well, Beshear stressed that just because the program is stabilizing, that does not mean that people have found permanent housing.
We still have a lot of work to do there. But what it means is that we've had, just since last week, 6 households transition out of the program. Those are good numbers because that means that they have found a more desirable place for their family than in one of the travel trailers. And
well, Beshear said 249 travel trailers are currently occupied. State parks are housing 28 people in lodges or cabins. Of those 28 people, 26 are at Jenny Wiley and 2 are at Carr Creek. An ongoing effort in Prestonsburg is seeing progress as more businesses become sensory and autism friendly. Well, the idea to boost autism awareness and sensory concerns to the public began as a passion project from Courtney Kreider and her husband, Chris, who have 3 kids, 2 of whom have autism. Chris's barbershop was the first autism-friendly business in the city, a trend that has expanded to City Hall, Megan Goebel Photography, and Hayden Pediatric Dentistry, where Kreider works.
Whether it be events or whether it be the sensory-friendly businesses, the city of Prestonsburg has absolutely latched on to this idea and said, hey, we want this for our families in this town.
Kreider says the support has helped to build the Eastern Kentucky ASD and SPD support group. A Whitesburg business staple is expanding after the flood. Kentucky Mist Distillery in Whitesburg had nearly 3 feet of water in it during July's flood. With the help of volunteers, the local business was one of the first in town to reopen. Now it's expanding, purchasing a 10,000 square foot building across the street.
We worked out a deal on it and we hope to get in there within the next week or 2. We hope to be using the space, and short term we want to use it for warehouse, but I mean it's a great building.
Well, the owner says he would like to start distilling in the new building one day. An Eastern Kentucky storm chaser spent time in Alabama recently before heading to Louisiana yesterday as he follows the storm there. And you may remember Alabama was hit hard by a strong tornado responsible for at least 7 deaths last week. We caught up with him and we have more. This is video from 606 storm chaser and Perry County native Chris Hall. His team loading up generators onto a U-Haul truck for Selma, Alabama tornado survivors.
At the time of the Selma tornado, I was in Kentucky. I was near the Harrodsburg area when the EF1 struck Harrodsburg. I instantly went home and I packed my clothes and I shot to the south, and I was in Selma that night.
Hall documented his trip to Selma on Twitter. This video shows extensive damage to buildings and homes in the city of more than 17,000 people.
Folks are starting to do the cleanup process. Power's starting to come back on in a lot of the communities.
He recalled a moment when he saw an 82-year-old woman walking to the post office going to file an insurance claim. He gave her a ride through town.
She was just in shock after we drove down through the tornado debris path, and she said, Lord, I shouldn't even be going to this place to do an insurance claim. My poor little wooden house didn't get nothing compared to these guys.
Hall partnered with the Marco Patriots organization from Marco Island, Florida. His team helped them cook nearly 3,000 meals. That same organization also served meals to flood survivors in eastern Kentucky.
You know, you had multiple tornado survivors coming through saying this is the worst storm that they had ever seen hit their town. You know, a lot of them are just thankful to be alive.
Taking his eastern Kentucky spirit to people needing it most. Dakota Makris, WYMT Mountain News. No deaths from the storm were reported in Selma. Hall says people there could use tarps, water, and clothing. When we come back this morning, the First Lady of Television, Betty White, is being honored for her long television career.
And dreary conditions will continue today for a bit, but skies will clear for the first part of the weekend. I'll have that, or have the latest in about 3 minutes.